Hello and welcome to the Legacy Crusaders YouTube channel. This is Benji, and today I'm going to show you my Infernoid Orcust deck profile. It is a crazy and insane version of Orcust and Infernoid, and I went 5-0 at our UDS the other day. It had 17 players, won the first 4 rounds, purposely took a L in the 5th round to go eat since I was undefeated, and then I won my top 8 match, and then we kind of split up the prize at that point, so I didn't really get beaten by anyone. But anyways, let's take a look at this deck list. Anyways, playing 3 copies of Infernoid Decatron. If you're not familiar with what Infernoids do, there will be a link to an iCard up above explaining exactly how every card in this deck works, because I've done a comprehensive guide on this before, although it could be updated nowadays. Also, I'm planning on doing a how to play Infernoids in the future. Just looking for someone to teach the deck because I don't play it remotely normally, as you can see. So there's 3 Decatrons playing several of the small Infernoids, 1 Prometheus, 1 Antra, 1 Harmodic. So he sends set cards back to the deck. He returns face-up cards to the hand, but only your opponent's cards. He destroys a monster, but he can't attack that turn. These 2 can, which means if Decatron sends these, Decatron can attack. They also share the effect that they can, on your opponent's turn, tribute a monster you control to target a card in your opponent's graveyard, and if you do, banish that card. I also play 1 copy of Petrula, which has a similar effect to Harmodic. Harmodic can destroy a monster once per turn, but can't attack. Petrula can destroy a spell or trap card once per turn, but can't attack. For the big Infernoids, I play 1 copy of Subjet to resolve Feast, where you get 2 Decatrons, 1 Sights Moss. If he battles at the end of the battle phase, he can banish 1 card of the field, 1 Atondel. If he destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, he can attack again, so he's good at ending games. All 3 of these guys share the effect that during either player's turn, quick effect, you contribute a monster you control, target a card in your opponent's graveyard, and banish it. All of the Infernoids, with the exception of Decatron, can only be summoned if the total level of Infernoid the total level of effect and rank, the total level of effect monsters and rank of effect monsters on the field that you currently control is under 9, so 8 or below. The big guys can be summoned from your hand or graveyard by banishing Infernoids from your hand or graveyard, 2 of them. The smaller Infernoids require you to summon them from your hand by banishing 1 Infernoid from your hand or graveyard. So they're all good, but they're all bricks, and you don't really want to draw any of them. Play 2 copies of Infernoid Inoku. When summoned, he can destroy all monsters on the field except himself, and he requires 3 Infernoids to be banished from your hand or graveyard to summon him. You contribute a monster you control to negate the activation or the effect of a spell or trap card, and if you do banish it, Deviati does somewhat the opposite. Play 2 of those. Banish 3 Infernoids from your hand or graveyard to summon this card. When this card is summoned, destroy all spells and trap cards on the field except for void cards. So that's only face-up void cards, so if you have face-down void cards, they are going to get destroyed when you summon this. Also, you contribute a monster you control to negate the activation or the effect of a monster, and if you do, banish that card. That's the Infernoid engine. You play 2 of these in case you draw one, or you use one early off a Feast. You still have 1 in the deck to resolve Imagination for, and Imagination is the better card of the 2, but Feast might be the only one live in certain matchups. So that should be 14 Infernoids. Next, I play 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This is a going second deck, hard going second, so Phantasme can get you a card you need to push through your opponent's board. Also put back the Subjet if you drew it to help you resolve your Feast well, or it could put the Infernoids back in the deck to send again with Imagination, because it doesn't really matter if they're in your hand or not. Next, I play a Danger Package. I play 2 Nessie, okay, 2 Tsuchinoko, and 2 Danger Jackalope. So these are just the 3 semi-limited dangers. I just play 2 of each, which is the maximum number of dangers you're able to play in that scenario. So 2 Nessie, 2 Jackalope, 2 Tsuchinoko. They also activate when they're discarded, so by card effects. So if you use a Nightmare Phoenix, you can discard 1 to ensure you get a body and pop a card and not go neg in the process. But I also play 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Nashter, which allows me to out Striker Link monsters, Orcust boards, and also is a discard outlet for the Orcust monsters should I draw them. That way I don't have to use my normal summon on them, but I can, or I can normal a Harp and then just summon this by discarding a danger or an Infernoid, since it doesn't really matter if you discard Infernoids. This can also bring back Dingirsu from the graveyard. I haven't done it in a while because if you do it, you can only summon Infernoids for the rest of the turn, and my win condition tends to be Borosword Dragon or Zeroboros. So that's the monsters that are not Infernoids or Orcusts. I'm playing 3 copies of Orcust Harpar and 1 Orcust Symbol Skeleton, 1 Orcust Nightmare. And then I have 2 targets for the Orcust Nightmare to send besides the other Orcust monsters. I play 1 World Legacy World Wand, which is sort of an Orcust monster. It summons back banished Orcust cards, so if your opponent gets rid of your Orcust, you can put them back into the play with the wand, but also you can just shuffle them back with Galatea. So yeah, if you're not familiar, Harp summons from deck, Orcust Foolishes, Nightmare Foolishes, Skeleton is Monster Reborn, and World Wand is DDR. So summons from Banish Zone. Because it's not an Orcust monster with the field spell out, it's not a quick effect. So the other ones are. I also play 1 copy of Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentron Sky Slasher, to send off of Orcust Nightmare to 1 be a never-ending body. It combos well with the Infernoids because you can always tribute it if it gets targeted to be banished by something to prevent it from going away. It's pretty useful. And then I have a small Gren Maju engine, I guess I'll call it. I'm playing 2 copies of Eater of Millions, which is good for outing anything. Also, Eater of Millions can turn off my own Mystic Mine, so if I play mine and stall my opponent whenever I'm ready to push, I could just banish it with Eater of Millions along with 4 cards from my extra deck. So that's pretty cool. I could just summon Eater of Millions and then summon my Gren Maju to Iza from my hand. I play 2 copies in the main deck. I play my deck kind of weird with ratios because I'm a firm believer if something isn't in your deck, you can't draw it. So I play a lot of 2-ofs, so possibilities of outing certain scenarios come up, and I might just banish cards I need. So I don't want to overcommit to any particular strategy. It plays fine. You draw the right cards at the right time. Just summoning Infernoids, you can banish enough material for Eater to be for Gren Maju to be pretty big. And if you can't get to him, and you still can banish with Eater or Gizmek, I could just summon Topologic Zeroboros and use him for his attack points also. So if Zeroboros is like the Gren Maju in the extra deck. Onto the spells. I play 3 copies of Void Banishment. This is the Infernoid search spell for void spells and traps. This is not as good as Imagination because if you use this effect to search by discarding a card once per turn, really good, you can't summon monsters that aren't Infernoids for the rest of the turn, which means if you use this to search a second Imagination, you can only Monster Reborn your Decatron or your Tiara. So if I have 2 Imaginations, which I play 3 of, by the way, this is the Infernoid Fusion spell. I can summon 1 Tiara, pop all my opponent's cards with my 3 Natesses, play a second copy of Imagination, summon back 2 big Infernoids, tribute the Tiara off, banish a card in the graveyard, and then send it to the graveyard to fuse the second Tiara, assuming I haven't banished everything from my deck already, or if they're still available. You only do half damage while this card sits on the field, so if you send it away to fuse with it, or if you pop it, like I could pop it with my Galaxy Cyclone if I want, to turn off the halving damage thing, but it also makes your guys level 1, so you can summon more guys. There's a lot of good features about this card. Anyway, so that's the Void spells. The reason this weird deck came to be is I just wanted to play Desires again. Hadn't played it in a while. So because it's a 60 card deck and I'm playing triple Desires, I never really banished everything I need, or I banish parts of it but not all of it, and I could still play. And I'll have more cards, and just drawing a Gren Maju means at any point I can OTK my opponent or something. So pretty useful. Also, it draws Ash Bait, so it's like Extravagance would be. I'm not playing Gammas and Driver because I don't want to banish the Driver off of the Desires. That can't happen with Extravagance, so it's more useful in that case. I'm playing 2 copies of Called by the Grave. This is 4 hand traps, but also it's because I found that I have to side the all 3 of them if I don't main them, because Lancia just auto beats this deck, so I just side the 3rd one for when I know I'm going second and I know my opponent will have Lancia in, or I suspect they will. So this is my out for Lancia. I'm playing one Monster Reborn. This is to summon Tiara back from the graveyard under Void Banishment. Also, it can revive Decatron or an Orcust monster that may have gotten milled by Tiara's effects. So, I don't know, there's some cool things you can do with it. You can take your opponent's cards in the graveyard and do some stuff. But you can just Monster Reborn, Boral Sword Dragon. Monster Reborn is a great card. I play one Galaxy Cyclone. This is to out back row as well as turn off floodgates. So if this just sits in my graveyard, I can just turn off whatever I want whenever I feel like it. Generally my own Mystic Mine is what I turn off with it, but I can also turn off my opponent's there can be only ones and things like that. A lot of times you get to hit two, can only be ones with this. You can hit one while it's face down, and then your opponent realizes that their cards are in danger, they turn it face up, and you get it next turn. I play one copy of Foolish Burial, which I only started playing because of the Gizmek. Honestly, I decided, the way I was playing my deck before, that there was no card I wanted to send to the graveyard enough to play a Foolish. Like, I wasn't playing the Danger, so I had trouble getting my Orcust Engrave, but I had trouble getting monsters in general, so just sending a Heart by itself wasn't enough, so I didn't really want to send it, but this card's really good when you have some great cards to send. Terraforming to search my field spells. I play Orcust Return for Orcust spells. This card is a little bit dead sometimes because I don't play that many Orcust cards, but in an Infernoid deck, if you just drew an Infernoid instead, it'd be equally as dead, so it's no worse than other cards I already play. It could be an easy side out. If your opponent Mystic Minds you, this is a way to turn off your Mystic Mind, so you could just, your opponent's Mystic Mind, you could just Orcust return your Galatea to the graveyard and draw 2 cards, and then you have no monsters. Playing one Babel to search for the Terraforming, as well as being a target for the Galatea. And I play 2 Mystic Mine in the main deck. I am going second, so pretty much you bait your opponent if you need to, and then you play mine, and then you just sit there waiting till you draw Imagination, or Vanishment, or some other big power card. The Eater of Millions and the can eat your Mystic Mine to turn it off whenever you need to, as well as you could just, what I do sometimes is I'll just activate Babel, and then play mine over it, so Babel's in grave, and I can add it back to hand anytime I want, and also turn the Babel into a discard outlet. But mine isn't good in every matchup, so I didn't want to overcommit to just playing triple mine in the main deck, so I sided to third mine, but I'm also playing 2 Dark Ruler No More for Floodgate decks. So Dark Ruler No More, most people can't do much about, but you can't kill your opponent the turn you use this, so Imperm might be better. But I find that hand traps aren't being that useful in general unless they're Lancia, so I'd rather not play hand traps. I'd rather just play a card that just stops my opponent's board that's been made, so these don't care what my opponent's board is. They just stop my opponent's board and I can do whatever I want. And I can't really play Nibiru because I need my opponent to have an extra deck monster in order to resolve Imagination, so I didn't want to stick myself that way. I'm playing 2 copies of Orcust Crescendo because this is the card I prefer to use. Also, it searches the Gizmek out of the deck. So if I discard this, I can search Gizmek if it gets discarded off of a Danger, or if I discard it for Void Banishment. Pretty neat thing you can do is you can, if you draw this with Vanishment, you can use Vanishment and discard Crescendo, then search Harp and then set Harp, so you can get your Orcust in play at the same time as setting up your Imagination play, your Void Feast play. I play 2 Void Feasts in the main deck because I play Desires, and I do want to be able to resolve it at least once. Just whether or not it comes up, but if it gets banished, then I can't play that or have that option. So I play 2. Similarly, the Crescendo, all my cards get banished. So I play a lot of 2-ofs. So that's my main deck, 60 cards. Just take a quick look at a random hand, and then I'll show you the extra in the side deck, just to, because the deck's kind of mixed up because of the way we were just doing this. So just 2 seconds. One more shuffle, I'll finish the deck list. So let's say I drew this. It's not great going first, but I'm not going first deck, so I'm going second. This hand looks very good, just because I have Mystic Mind to turn off whatever my opponent does. This stops an Ash if they have an Ash. If I use Nessie, I'll probably draw this card, because odds are I'll miss. The only card I want to really save is the Decatron, so I'll probably, I guess I'd search Mystic Mind, then activate Mystic Mind, turn off my opponent's cards. Then I guess I don't know what I would draw, but then I would Decatron if I had to, and the Decatron contribute itself to make sure that they can't get monsters off their field. But yeah, if I drew this, that'd be great. I guess I could just summon the Nessie and then play the Harp. It depends on what their board is. Anyways, so let's go into the side and the extra, and maybe I'll do another random hand afterwards. I play 2 copies of Orcust Galatea. This one's signed by Simo, and this one is just an ulti. I was going to let Simo sign the ulti. Love you, Simo. Play 1 copy of Doolittle Chimera, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. This lets you OTK with Infernoids only, and Galatea just lets you do Orcust combo. Phoenix is a discard outlet as well as just redealing back row. I play 1 Long Girsu, because I use Long Girsu quite a bit. I don't usually go Galatea into Galatea. I like to get a Link 3 so I can climb into my Link 4s. And the last Orcust card I play in the extra deck is Girsu. I only need 1, although my extra deck's a little tight because it is a combo deck. I play several Link 4s. I play Topologic Zeroboros as a main deck version of Gren Maju. So if there's enough banished cards off Desires or Gizmek, I might just summon this and try and attack my opponent for game. Also, I can banish an entire board with this and then try and push for game as well. I play Topologic Bomber to do the standard old Orcust play. I haven't really tested the IP Masquerena stuff in this particular deck. That's because I don't have an IP Masquerena. I could play pure Orcust if I had 1 IP Masquerena and 1 more Orcust Return. I own 2, only play 1 in here because it's not a pure deck. But I have to test that out. And Boral Sword for OTKs. Okay, then for fusions, as the rest of the extra deck are fusion monsters, I play 2 copies of Infernoid Tiara, because 2 Imaginations is game if your opponent can't stop you from fusing twice in most scenarios. I play 3 copies of Elder Entity Nates. So this is the card you generally send to the graveyard off of Tiara's effect to send 3 from the extra to the graveyard to pop 3 cards. Also, if you only need to pop 2 cards, you could send the second Tiara if you weren't going to be able to fuse again. And then I play in the main deck 1 copy of Chimeratech Mega Fleet in case someone actually wants to play Cyber Orcust or just playing Cyber Dragon, as well as if I draw the Nashter, I can out an extra deck monster before I do anything. It's really good against Appaloosa. So that's the extra deck. And for my side deck, I'm playing 2 copies of Evenly Matched. I find it really difficult to side deck, so I just decided not to overside. So I usually side in around 4 cards during every match. So 2 Evenly Matched, 2 copies of Witch's Strike. This is for trap-based decks, Subterrors and so on. This is good against Subterror and Altergeist. Because the truth is they're bad matchups for me because Imagination's dead against Subterrors. It's also really dead against Altergeist. Because unless they make Link Karibo, and then you can't really resolve Imagination. Plus they play Compulse now, so they can just bounce their Link Karibo, so you can't resolve Imagination. But this kills them when they Hexia you or they Solemn Strike you or something. They just lose everything. Because yeah, so it's kind of weak in that match. I play 2 copies of Red Reboot for stopping trap cards. It's also for that match. If I give my opponent a trap card because I play Infernoids, odds are I can still destroy all their cards anyway. I play 1 Unending Nightmare for destroying back row or floodgates. So if my opponent's playing Mind Burn, I'm just going to pop every card they play. I played my 3rd Void Vanishment for those same matchups. So this is for like when you have bad matchups for extra deck, like True Draco or stuff. You want to have something that's more live than Imagination. I usually leave the Imaginations in anyway. Not that they're necessarily going to go into the extra deck, but because I need more cards to resolve the feast with. So if I play the 3rd feast, I intend to draw it more, so I need more void cards. I play the 3rd Called by the Grave for when I suspect my opponent will be putting in Lancia in game 2 and 3. I play the 3rd Mystic Mine for when I know for sure that this card is good. And then because Nibiru would be nice to use against Pendulums, but does not work. If my Pendulum opponent goes first, I want to have the possibility of outing their board, so I play 2 copies of Raw Sphere Mode. And then also, if I suspect my opponent's going to make me go first, I actually also side the 2 additional copies of Gizmek Orochi to start my banishing and also play defense, so I don't get OTK'd. So if they just try and push through, like they'll make me go first, I'll do nothing most of the time because there's really not much you can do going first. But this could be an extra body if I needed to do Orcust combo. But if they try to kill me, it gives me more ways to open a Battle Fader. Like I even considered playing a Battle Fader at some point, but when the whole Desires Eater of Million stuff came up. I just wound up playing it this way. And then I side a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon for the Orcust Mirror match, because I do still main the two Nashters, so I can out more cards in that case, but it's not live enough to justify playing. This card is also level 8, so it's better to make if I can instead of the Mega Fleet, because if you go over 8, you can't summon Infernoid. So that's the deck. That's the way I played it. At the UDS qualifier, not the UDS. Anyways, so yeah, that's gonna wrap this up. If you like my deck list, hit the like button. If you hate my deck list, hit the dislike button. I'll see you guys in the next video. And just if you want to see another test hand, just really fast, just gonna shuffle. I beat the shit out of my sleeves. Oh look, the combo going first. So going first, this is Decatron becoming Deviati to negate Ash and Called by the Grave to stop Ash, as well as Vanishment, searching Feast, and yep, that's pretty cool. So that's a good start. Going second, this is really broken. Because you get to pop off with Imagination, then do everything else you're going to do. Also, Decatron can be used for bait, or an Eater can be used for bait. I can banish most of my extra deck before I even make that play for Eater. Oh, Eater really stops Avramax. Alright, Banishment's a good start. Gren Maju is a good set. Oh, Desires, it's really good. Another Banishment. Nashter. So going first, this should be a very playable hand. We would definitely search before Desire raising. In this case, you don't want to lose the feasts, but also I could lose the feast targets. I guess that might make me change what I search. But going second, I would have Sajet, so that would be a bad draw there, but it would be a good discard for the Vanishment. So if I were to banish 9 more cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Going second, going first, I would have these cards after Desires, but if I went second, I would have drawn this card, banished this card, so there's Decatron here, and drawn the Feast and the Harp. So I have Orcust combo. So this would be used. So either way would be pretty good. In this case, I would just be able to summon this, and discard the Orcust Harp Horror. Whatever's face down, odds are I could still resolve a Feast for the follow-up. So, based on what's banished here, I could resolve Harmadic, Petrula, and Decatron for my Feast. Let's take a look at another few test hands. So as you see, these hands, while weird, are not unplayable whatsoever. Maybe sometimes, I'm sure there's unplayable hands in here with this many engines. Alright, so going first, Phantasm A would be a bad going first card. Again, I don't choose to go first. Crescendo is not great going first. Feast, Skeleton, and Harp. So this is not a good going first hand. I would probably just set Harp, and that would be it. Going second, though, double Feast. That means I could resolve a Feast, and if my opponent summons from the extra deck, let's say they summon a Link monster, I get these two to play around with to get me some plays. So it's not the worst hand in the world. Definitely not good going first. There aren't that many good going first hands in this deck. Okay. I'm trying to be very haphazard because I don't want to have any idea where any of my cards are. This is a perfectly fine, acceptable going first hand, and going second gets even better. Let's just keep going. This would be fine going first, better going second. This is not great going first, but going second, better. Going first, this is not good. And going second, it would not get much better, but if we assume Tsuchinoko draws me a card, I would have one more. I have mine, at least. Alright. Going first would be this, which is pretty good, and going second, it would be this, so I could also search a card. Going first, I'd have this, which is Orcust combo, because I have these two, so I'd probably invest into that. Going second, it would be even better. Ooh, very nice. Going first, this is not good, and going second, this is better. Going first, this is Going second, this is better. Going first, this is garbage, and going second, this is better. I could potentially draw 2 cards off of the Jackalope, can't really know. And last hand, going first, it's alright. Going second, a little better. Anyways, I hope you see that these hands aren't total garbage. I'll see you guys next time.